Calaroga Shark Media. Hello and welcome to Ghost, Scary Stories. This episode is titled Spirits of the Speakeasy, a New York Ghost Story. Part 2, Echoes of the Past.
The soft glow of streetlights filtered through the windows of the broken bottle, casting long shadows across the empty bar. Eddie Hernandez stood behind the counter, his dark eyes fixed on the old photograph that had become his obsession. Sophia Bellamy's face smiled back at him, a frozen moment of joy from nearly a century ago. 2 weeks had passed since Eddie's chilling encounter in the basement, and the events of that night continued to haunt him. He'd thrown himself into researching the broken bottle's history, spending every spare moment poring over old newspapers and city records. The more he learned, the more questions he had. As Eddie wiped down the bar, lost in thought, a chill ran down his spine. The temperature in the room plummeted, his breath visible in the suddenly frigid air. And then, as it had so many times before, came the whisper. "Eddie." He whirled around, heart pounding. "Sophia," he called out, his voice trembling slightly. "Is that you?" The silence that followed was deafening, but as Eddie's eyes swept the room, they landed on the basement door. It stood ajar, a sliver of darkness beckoning him. Against his better judgment, Eddie found himself drawn to the door. As he descended the creaky stairs, flashlight in hand, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was walking into another world entirely. The basement was as he remembered it, a maze of old crates and dusty bottles. But this time, as his flashlight beam cut through the gloom, something was different. The air seemed to shimmer, like heat rising from hot pavement. And then, before his disbelieving eyes, the basement began to change. The dusty crates melted away, replaced by tables and chairs. The dank smell of mold was replaced by the rich aroma of cigar smoke and perfume. And there, in the center of it all, stood a stage that hadn't existed moments before. Eddie blinked, sure he was hallucinating, but the scene before him remained. He was still in the basement of the broken bottle, but not the basement he knew. This was the broken bottle of the 1920s, alive with the energy of the Jazz Age. And then he saw her, Sophia Bellamy, in the flesh, stepping onto the stage. She was even more beautiful than her photograph, her dark hair styled in fashionable finger waves, her dress sparkling under the stage lights. As she began to sing, her voice filled the room, rich and soulful. Eddie stood transfixed, unable to move or speak. He watched as Sophia finished her song to thunderous applause, her smile radiant as she basked in the adoration of the crowd. But as she stepped off the stage, Eddie saw something that made his blood run cold. A man approached Sophia, his expensive suit and confident demeanor marking him as someone of importance. Eddie recognized him from his research, Thomas Blackwood, the original owner of the broken bottle. As Blackwood spoke to Sophia, Eddie saw fear flash across her face before she quickly masked it with a smile. The scene shifted, melting and reforming like wax under a flame. Now Eddie saw Sophia and Blackwood in what appeared to be Blackwood's office. They were arguing, Sophia's face flushed with anger, Blackwood's twisted in rage. "You can't leave!" Blackwood shouted, his voice oddly muffled as if coming from underwater. "You belong to me, to this place." Sophia's reply was lost as the scene shifted again. This time, Eddie found himself in a dark alley behind the bar. Sophia was there, looking over her shoulder in fear as she hurried through the night. Suddenly, a shadow loomed behind her. Eddie tried to call out a warning, but no sound came from his lips. He could only watch in horror as the shadow struck, and Sophia crumpled to the ground. With a gasp, Eddie found himself back in the present-day basement, his heart racing, sweat beading on his forehead. The visions were gone, but their impact lingered. He now knew with a bone-deep certainty that Sophia Bellamy hadn't run away as the official story claimed. She had been murdered. As Eddie climbed the stairs back to the bar, his mind reeled with questions. Who had killed Sophia? Was it Thomas Blackwood or someone else? And why was her spirit still haunting the broken bottle after all these years? He emerged from the basement to find the bar as he'd left it, quiet and normal. But now, Eddie could almost feel the weight of the past pressing in around him. The walls of the broken bottle held secrets, and he was determined to uncover them all. Over the next few days, Eddie dove deeper into his research. He discovered that Thomas Blackwood had been more than just the owner of a speakeasy. He had connections to some of the most notorious gangsters of the era, using the broken bottle as a front for more nefarious activities. Eddie also learned more about Sophia. She had come to New York from a small town in Georgia, drawn by dreams of stardom. Her talent had quickly made her a rising star in the city's jazz scene. But her success had come at a price. Rumors swirled about her relationship with Blackwood, whispers of threats and coercion. As Eddie pieced together the puzzle of Sophia's life and death, strange occurrences at the bar intensified. Glasses would fly off shelves, shattering against walls. The old jukebox in the corner would come to life, playing jazz tunes from the 1920s even when it wasn't plugged in. And always, there was Sophia's whisper, growing more urgent with each passing day. One night, as Eddie closed up the bar, he found himself talking to Sophia's photograph as if she could hear him. "I'm trying to help you," he said softly, "but I don't understand what you want me to do." As if in response, the temperature in the room plummeted. Eddie's breath caught in his throat as he saw a figure materialize before him. It was Sophia, but not as she appeared in the photograph or in his visions of the past. This Sophia was pale and translucent, her eyes filled with a desperate sadness. She opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. Instead, she pointed urgently towards the basement door. Eddie nodded, understanding. Whatever answers he sought, they lay beneath the broken bottle, in the speakeasy where Sophia had lived, performed, and ultimately met her tragic end. As Eddie moved towards the basement door, Sophia's ghost faded away, but her presence lingered, a palpable weight in the air. Eddie knew that he was on the verge of uncovering a truth that had been buried for almost a century, a truth that some people might kill to keep hidden. With a deep breath, Eddie opened the basement door. As he descended into the darkness, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was walking into the past itself. Whatever he discovered down there, he knew his life would never be the same. The secrets of the broken bottle were about to be revealed, and Eddie Hernandez was the key to unlocking them all. As he reached the bottom of the stairs, the whisper came again, clearer than ever before. "Eddie, help me." And with those words, Eddie stepped into a mystery that would challenge everything he thought he knew about life, death, and the thin line that separates them.
Ghost is a Calaroga Shark Media production, written and hosted by Alexander Ian McIntyre, produced by Mark Francis, executive producers Mark Francis and John McDermott. Portions of this podcast may have been created with the assistance of AI.
This show, along with hundreds of others from Calaroga Shark Media, is available commercial-free on any player, hassle-free. Just look for the link in the episode or show notes. Ghost now has merch. Find shirts, mugs, and more with the Ghost logo for sale at our merch store. There's free shipping and 10% off now with the coupon NEWMERCH10. Did we say there's free shipping? Check out all the goods at calaroga.com, that's CALOROGA.com, or just look for the link in the show notes. Thanks for supporting the show, we really appreciate it.
Calaroga Shark Media.